got a couple of stats here. So orphan drugs, they're not as rare as you'd think. So even big pharma, Pfizer has its own orphan drug group now. We were talking to them on a deal just earlier this year. So 260 orphan designations were filed in 2013. 30 orphan products were approved in 2013. And 9 of the 27 new molecular entities that were approved were orphan designated products. So there's there's a lot of activity here, and a lot of that activity is because of shorter pathway to market, premium pricing. But with that, and everyone, a lot of times once big pharma starts playing in something, maybe it's the boat's already sailed. I guess what are your thoughts on that? And I know maybe we'll start with Ed, because you do have a couple of orphan products in your portfolio.
Yeah, we were one of those 30 last year, orphan drugs that got approved. And speaking of 505(b)(2)s, we have 4 505(b)(2)s. The first one we got orphan. The second one we just got orphan on within the last 2 to 3 weeks. And we filed that NDA last December. A third one, we are in the process of hopefully filing that one the first of next year, and we just filed the orphan application on that one. So with 505(b)(2)s even, if they have, of course, the right patient population, and if they have a value added either in terms of safety, efficacy, or compliance, you can get orphan on those, which is very, very important with the 505(b)(2)s because you don't have the composition of matter patents. So it's important to get that 7 years. We've also looked at tons of other assets, 505(b)(1)s in the orphan indications. I mean, everybody knows orphan drugs are selling for $250,000 a year. Very attractive, right? Because they can be several $100 million of drugs, very low marketing cost. And the other, they're valuable, obviously, from the revenue they produce, but they're treating a disease that otherwise wouldn't have been looked at. Without that orphan route, we wouldn't have looked at these 505(b)(2)s because we wouldn't have had protection. So you're bringing products to the market that really add value, and I think the door's wide open. Every company should be looking at orphan opportunities in some fashion.
I'll just add to that from, again, wearing a CRO hat now. I've had at least 3 conversations with large biopharma probing our experience in certain rare disease indications, patient populations and indications. And what my kind of interpretation of what the questions were around was they have some assets that they want to try to get to market relatively quickly as a lead indication, but they have plans for the asset beyond the lead indication. So this gets them a pathway to get in, prove the product safety, prove efficacy, and then they're branching into larger patient populations where the studies will be much more expensive, but this is an entry point. So I don't know if that trend always existed, but I'm certainly seeing it now that I'm having these conversations.
Yunan, do you think the ability to continue to price at such a high level for these orphan drugs will continue?
Well, look, I think the orphan system works. To Ed's point, I think the focus therapeutically on hem-onc probably lends itself more to orphan indications just because of the nature. I think in a limited R&D, global R&D world, if all the R&D dollars are going in a particular direction, they're not going in to the large classes, and I think that may be a mistake. I don't believe that every big pharma can be wholly dependent on orphan indications, no. And I think that you'll see the pressures. We've had this unprecedented level of price reduction on small molecules, as many of those have gone off patent and gone generic, so the cost to insurers has gone down. Well, at the same time, many new orphan drugs, which are high priced, have come on stream. And I think at some point that equilibrium is going to fall out, and maybe that's when there's significantly more pushback from the payers. So do I think it's sustainable? I don't think the increase in price is sustainable. But I do agree with both of the other participants that these diseases, it's great that they're actually being served, and the system does work. Orphan protection does work.